Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Radical Sim Racing European Championship 2024 here at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. I am your host Aaron Smith for tonight, and alongside me is Nathan Richards, and in the production booth we have Louise Araya for today's racing. Well, welcome Nathan. I believe you might have done a couple broadcasts on this series this season. We've got the new layout here at Spa, recently redone on iRacing, and it's beautiful. It is gorgeous to finally get an updated version of iRacing. And for those of you who missed the esports race on Friday at 2100 GMT, it was it was an amazing race. We had, I think, the closest finish we've ever had on Apex, potentially. Both drivers, which are Andreas Friedrich and Christoph Lipp, both fighting for the championship in this series, they crossed the line at exactly the same time, and Christoph Lipp was given the win in the end. But either way, they both loved it. They both gave each other huge amounts of praise, and hopefully we can get something similar today. Well, Nathan, new Spa and back on this just amazing racing series here with the Radicals. How are you feeling for today's racing?
I'm quite excited actually, because I've commentated, funnily enough, twice since I've had the update over here on Apex, and I've got to say the racing's been brilliant. It's been nice to have a bit more of an updated version of the track, and obviously sometimes when you have some of the reworks, the drivers talk about some complaints and say it's been a bit to get used to, but a lot of them have got into the flow quite quickly, and they're very happy with this new version of the circuit.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that as well. iRacing really have knocked it out of the park with this new rescan here at Spa. And yeah, we asked a couple of drivers on Friday after the race just how it was, and most of them had good things to say, which is always a good thing, and it provided genuinely some of the best racing I've seen in these Radicals. So hopefully we get more of that today. We've got two races, of course. The format in today's race is going to be a 10-minute qualifying session, then a 15-minute heat race, and then the big one, the 45-minute feature race straight after that. And the heat race determines the grid for said feature race. Well, before we get into anything though, we're going to take a look at the championship points standings. And at the moment, it's James Barry leading the championship after an amazing last few rounds, really up the ante. Has the Brit Andreas Friedrich now starting to fall behind, as Christoph Lipp has started to gain back on these front two, as everyone else obviously just lagging behind a little bit. They've lacked the pace and the consistency that the front three have shown consistently all season. The likes of Larson, Sorensen, Kirikopoulos, they've all had their races where they've been absolutely rapid, but just have not quite met the mark most of the time. And now moving on to the Amateur Championship, where it's been a little bit more dominant so far. Adam Locke has stepped it up really over the last half of the season. He's been really, really great and one to watch. He's been competing with some of the pros most of the time. Gabriel Berger as well has been great. Just not as quick as Adam Locke, and maybe just a little bit less consistent. Part of the same team though, so maybe using some similar setups, some similar preparation tactics, and then everyone else. You could say the likes of Tom Euler, Laliva in fourth there could have fought for the championship, but they've just lacked a little bit of consistency, especially Laliva, who really should be closest to the top, but has just fallen off the ways on occasion this season. And well, after those points standings, now we head nearly into the qualifying session. And, well, I think you'll agree with me, Nathan. This is probably one of the most difficult qualifying sessions on iRacing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they've only got 10 minutes, and it's a very long circuit. The lap time is just over 2 minutes. So if you make a mistake, you've got a lot more at risk than you would around some of the shorter circuits that we've been at this season. But of course, they're still very quick cars, aren't they, these little radicals? But looking at the practice standings and who was the quickest in practice, I've got to say, Adam Locke, third place. So he's looking quite strong going into this qualifying session.
That's what I mean. He's really gotten better. He's just found so much pace over the last kind of 5 or 6 races, and it has Gabriel Berger as well, as he was, I believe, in I think 6th or 7th position in that practice session. So keep an eye on those two in the AMs. Of course, in the end, it doesn't mean anything. They only score points for where they finish in their classes. But it just, gives you a little bit of a buffer between yourself and your rival.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, the top 3 are so close in the standings at the moment, especially in the pros. So they've got a lot to fight for. And, a mistake in a race like this, maybe losing 2 or 3 positions, means a lot more than it would to some of those further down. And, of course, some of those further down in the standings are going to be fighting their hardest to get back up. So I think there's lots to play for, especially when you get to this point in the championship where the gaps are starting to increase and you've got got 2 championship groups all battling for their positions. So going into this, I think it'll be very interesting to see what the drivers can achieve, as we do see Andries Friedrich here heading down towards Les Combes. And Aaron, what in your opinion, what would you say is the best place to overtake on this track?
Well, there, probably, Les Combes. I mean, you've got that gigantic run all the way from turn 1 all the way to turn 7, 8 and 9. You could make an argument potentially for the bus stop chicane as well. I mean, of course, that's where we saw Friedrich go for the lead on Friday and very, very nearly get the race victory. So, I mean, the slipstream has definitely been improved a little bit, going from all the way from Blanchimont to the last chicane. So we'll definitely see some overtaking there. But what we also found out on Friday is that, we can talk about where's the best overtaking opportunity on this track, but some of the drivers just seemed to go for it anywhere. We saw moves at Campus, at Stavolo, and some even at Pouon, which is just insane. So I think, especially on those first few laps, it's going to be really, really important to make those early gains.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the good thing is this is rather a short, these cars are quite small, the track's quite wide, which does allow for many overtakes to be made, especially in, I'd say, a good 80% of the circuit. I mean, I think the only corners which become a little bit of a risk are that stuff like, obviously, Jackie Eats corner, Pouon, they're a little bit of a risk, but everywhere else, as long as you can drive cleanly and there's no netcode issues, you should easily be able to go side by side. But I believe we're just coming to the end of the first laps being set in the session.
Well, I believe everyone is getting ready for their qualifying laps, as the outlap here, like you mentioned, I mean, the lap here in general is quite long. We were doing about, I think, in the 220s on Friday, and eventually as the race went on, they slowly got faster and faster. And I think by the end, they might have been in the 18s or the 17s. And, well, we'll find out if the track conditions have changed a little bit since then, as we ride on board Kirakopolis, as turn 1 really is the only corner in this entire first sector. As well, in these cars, they've just got so much downforce. Blanchimont, Radion and Rouge is not really even a corner for most cars nowadays. It's just a bit of a straight line. The only car I can really see it being a challenge in is something like a Porsche Cup, where it's just a slight lift, but down into Les Combes, late on the brakes as soon as you can, a little bit squirrely from the rear end there. And these curbs on the outside and inside have been changed for this new rescan, and you can get beached on them if you're not careful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, curbs are horrible, I think, around most tracks, and around a track that's had them updated. They're going to be horrible, and definitely one of the places on the track which the drivers definitely have to get used to. Of course, sometimes the curbs can determine how fast the circuit is and how fast the peak lap times are. As we just follow through with Kyriakopoulos through into Puon corner, and you can see just trying to force a car through, and in some occasions can get a bit of understeer, but then in some corners you can get a snap of oversteer on exit. So they are difficult cars to drive, definitely not the easiest cars to be quick in. They're easy to drive, but definitely quite hard to master as we just head through to the end of this second sector now, and we'll obviously get to see shortly what the lap times will be. But of course, with a 10-minute session, you get a couple of laps in, so the first lap isn't the be-all and end-all.
Yeah, definitely, as Kyriakopoulos really seems to be struggling with understeer on this first lap, as the tyres and the car in general just still trying to heat up as he tries to get the maximum out of this car. Easy flat there through Blanchimont, as coming down to the last chicane, late on the brakes as soon as you can, and a tiny bit deep there from Kyriakopoulos. Not too bad though. Make sure he gets a nice exit. Fairly easy to get on the power in this car as he comes across someone. What's it going to be? It looked like a fairly tidy lap there, and it is. It slots him nicely into third place. Obviously, it's just a nice banker lap, and that's what you want on your first few laps. Now falling down to fourth, but this next lap and the one after that is going to be the one where we're going to see, see the real lap times come out of these drivers and these cars.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, just looking at some of the gaps on the first opening laps, you can see Lippin Friedrich separated by just over 3.5, and then down to Barry as well, nearly 3/10 back from Friedrich. So these first laps, of course, a bit more of an installation lap, just trying to get yourself in tune with the track and just kind of work out where the conditions are and where you can push and where you can't push, as there's many of the cars still looking to complete their laps there. Lasse Sorensen goes up into P4 there, just over 6/10 back from Christoph Lipp's time. And looking down in the AM category as well, Berger's currently at the top there, being just over a second off, so just in the 2-minute 13s. And surprisingly, Adam Locke a little bit further off from what we expect. He's 1.3 seconds off from pole. I know that he's not in the same class as them at the top, but normally we do see him a little bit higher.
Yeah, just a little bit. And there's Euler popping himself up into 6th place. That's a tidy lap time from the German, as potentially if he can show his pace that he did in the early parts of the season, maybe we could see a late season comeback from the German driver who looked so good at the start. But I think from Brazil onwards, it's just been an uphill battle for Euler. Here's Bjorklund, who's been impressed, very impressive this season. I think he's definitely just improving as a driver, and in the Porsche Cups as well, he was doing pretty well. And well, that first lap definitely was not his true pace. This next lap hopefully should be a little bit more of what we should be seeing from Bjorklund. A couple tenths down in the first few sectors, so not expecting this lap time to be anything too special, but it should bump him up the grid just a tiny bit, as that's Gonzaga going up to 11th place, and into the last corner we go. Looks fairly tidy there from Bjorklund. Doesn't look like he's pushing too hard. A little bit squirrely on the exit though. Where is this going to put the Norwegian as he comes across the line? And it's not an improvement at all. He stays in 16th.
Well, he did improve on his time, but unfortunately, he's only down in 16th. He's now put 1.5 seconds off, so not ideal there from Bjorklund. As we see Alexander Scarrett here heading through into Lake Colm, currently 1.4 seconds off in that 15th place. Would certainly like to be a little bit higher than he is now. And up the top again, we had an improvement there from Barry, goes up into 3rd. We had Larson pop himself up into P8, and also Berger just go inside that 10th place there with a 2:13.0. So looking to try and improve the pace. Definitely, as Adam Locke goes a little bit wide, heading down towards P1, and with only 2 minutes to go, this is certainly not the position that you'd like to be in if you're Adam Locke.
No, not really. That's going to make his first heat race quite the challenge, as we've got about 1 minute and 50 seconds to go in this qualifying session. Most of the drivers are out on track doing their lap times only 3 drivers, all of them being are actually in the pits, and that's Lelive, Berger, and Euler. And yeah, once again, hats off to Euler, who's finally come back and really shown what he can do at the front of the amateur field. Here is Sorensen, currently 6/10 off. I mean, these are the kind of gaps that you'd expect at a Spa-like track. As we mentioned, he really is pushing the limits of that SR10, and that's definitely an off track, and that will be the end of his qualifying session as he pulls over to the side. But yeah, they're really showing just how difficult of a qualifying session it is. I mean, you know, it goes without saying, the longer a track is, the more difficult it is to be consistent and put an entire lap together. So you definitely are seeing that with our 20-car field.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the gaps aren't normally this big, especially between first and third, being just over half a second there, as Kyriakopoulos goes up into P3 there, just over 4 tenths back from Christoph Lipp, as Melis improves by a position and goes up into P17, and Iani there, I don't think found much of an improvement. If he did, still stays in that P5 place. Barry as well, P4, so he won't go back out at all onto circuit. As we do see the top 3, I think Friedrich and Lipp are still on their final qualifying laps here.
Yes, as Lipp choosing to go into the pits, did look like he was improving on that lap time, as actually he might have made a mistake in the middle part of the lap. But either way, Christoph Lipp obviously, yeah, I mean, if Friday is anything to go off, Lipp is rapid round here, but also, like we saw on Friday, it's near impossible to pull away at this track. The slipstream is just way too strong. You kind of have to be seconds quicker than the car behind to actually pull away. You know, if it's any close like we have at the front of the field, 0.3 of a second between our first 2 drivers, Christoph Lipp's going to have a difficult task on his hands. Well, it is Lipp on pole position. Shock. No one ever saw that coming. Andreas Friedrich lines up alongside him, probably his closest championship rival at the moment. Kyriakopoulos in 3rd place. Good qualifying from the Swiss man. James Barry, your championship leader in the pros, in 4th. Not a horrible session from him, but definitely would have liked to have been higher. And then the rest of the grid is Moroniani in 5th place, Lasse Sorensen in 6th, Christian Barkin in 7th, Tom Euler on pole for the ARMS down in 8th place, Larson in 9th, Sauli Ryson and rounding up your top 10, Gabriel Berger in 11th place, Jorge Gonzaga in 12th place, and then in 13th it will be Dorian Lelive. 14th will be Adam Locke. Like we mentioned, bit disappointing for your AM Championship leader, all the way down in, I believe, 4th place in the AMS. Skret is 15th, Bjorklund 16th, Mellis 17th, Haug 18th, Damien Gee 19th, and Guy Robertson at the back of the grid in 20th place, about a second off the car in front.
Yeah, of course. There's quite a big gap, isn't there, in terms of from first to last? He was just over 3 seconds behind, so we will definitely see some of the cars behind fall back a little bit quicker than the others.
Yeah, definitely. And, well, maybe the slipstream will aid some of the guys here, just stay a little bit closer and aid them in their battles. But we're about to go green here at Spa, and it's going to be a good race, I can promise you that. The first 15 minutes are underway, and that's a very, very good start from your poleman. Christoph Lipp has shot away, and into turn 1 we go. Can everyone keep it clean? There's already a car. I think that's Lelive trying to go up the inside. There's a spinner, and who is that? That's Larson round as well, and I believe that potentially could have been Berger or someone in the back. Iani was also involved as well, and that was not a clean start into turn 1 at all. But before we look at that, we're going to pay attention to this battle. This is what you want to see on lap 1. This is very vivid of 2018. Here comes Sebastian Vettel. Here comes Andreas Friedrich from the same country into the lead. He goes into Lecom in 1st place. Barry up to 3rd as well, and Sorensen making up a few places up to 4th.
Yeah, definitely. I can see as well, Adam Locke went from 14th to 9th in that little one, as Euler went all the way down to P11. So many cars jumping up and down the field, as Haug as well was down in P18, now up into P11. So a very good start from the young Norwegian, who's now just on the fringe of that top 10. And I've got to say, very surprising how much that slipstream affected some of those heading down towards Lecom. It was a big boost indeed of top speed, which helped Friedrich take the lead away from Christoph Lipp as well. Looking further back, Barry in 3rd, just about 7 tenths behind, and Sorensen there rounding at that top 4, and the lever in the top 5 started a lot further down than that, so very good indeed from him, but already he's starting to drop back from the front 4, which definitely gives those at the front a bit more confidence to continue pushing here to the end.
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to be the top 4 at the moment who will be in contention for that top step on the podium. Lalive, though, did have a absolutely blinding start. I noticed him sending it up the inside into turn 1 as Jorge Gonzaga's car has seen better days. Missing the entire front end of the car. I can't imagine that will be helping his aerodynamics whatsoever, as he is losing huge chunks of time as he also overtakes Gabriel Berger, who I think is having issues of his own. And potentially we could get a cheeky replay of what on earth happened into turn 1. I didn't quite see if it was just a spinner coming off the corner, if maybe there was contact somewhere. But it was just utter chaos. There were cars trying to dive up the inside, 2012 style. It was just absolute mayhem.
Yeah, it was. But that's Spa, isn't it? Turn 1, La Source. It's a horrible corner, especially at the start of a race. In any motorsport category, you tend to have some incidents happen down into that first corner. So, yeah, but of course, a big shame for those involved. I think there was at least 4 or 5 involved directly, and then others as well being held up behind. So, certainly not what they want, but we do have Lip taking the lead again away from Andreas Friedrich as they head their way down to Les Combes. I'm sure we'll see these two swapping the lead pretty much every lap here around Spa, as we do see Jestrom back in there go past Lever for P5, and then also we do see Bjorklund getting past Kiri Kopolis for P8. And I also did notice as well the Swissman had a bit of a poor start, started P3, now down to P9.
Yeah, I think he was one of the cars involved in that lap 1 incident, as Tom Euler definitely was. I mean, starting up in P8, now down to P13. Other drivers benefiting, other drivers, well, crying, to be honest, as Berger and Gonzaga are just losing more and more time. I think they both came in for a pit stop. They did. Took their fast repairs, got their cars fixed, and, well, they might be able to pick up some scraps in this race, but they probably won't be fighting for any positions. Here is the start of the race once again. Is it going to be Iani sending it one on Kiriakopoulos? I believe it is. Yeah, that's very similar to Sainz and Piastri. I think it was last year. And then it was just a huge block in the middle of the track. There was Larson, who got spun round as well by someone else. And yeah, just utter medlem.
Yeah, there was also a little bit of debris further up the road, so I'm not sure if anyone else had their own little incident further on. But we continue here with live pictures, of course. Just watching Tom Mueller there in P13 as we watch the lead once again here. Lip defending from Friedrich as they head their way down to the bus stop chicane, and there we can see as well James Barry looking to close in a little bit more here to get involved in that battle for second and first place as we head down to La Source. A very good run here for Andreas Friedrich. Going to sit behind for now, though. Would like to get the move down into Les Combes rather than here down to turn 1, as we do see some moves further back there. Haug dropping a couple of positions there, so I think he must have made a mistake somewhere, probably heading into the bus stop chicane. But we continue our way on up towards Eau Rouge and Radion, and as well we can see Sorensen starting to drop back as well a little bit from this train, but still a P4 for him would be very ideal going through into the 45-minute feature race.
Well, if Lip isn't careful here, he's going to end up fifth by the end of this. Third by the end of. I'd be surprised if he ended up fifth. Bloody hell! But he'll end up third at the end of this straight as James Barry goes into the lead. Very, very reminiscent of what we saw on Friday. The same drivers doing exactly the same thing. These front three just trading places every single lap. You know, one lap Lip would be third, then he'd be leading again. And, well, this is what we're going to get in these opening 15 minutes. And perhaps once we get to the feature race, it'll be a little bit different, as it is just allowing Sorensen to stay with these guys. As, yeah, fifth and backwards have just dropped off. And that's the effect for Slipstream for you. And, well, I was just having a think to myself. Turn 1 here at Spa could be debatable as one of the best overtaking opportunities that is utterly pointless.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, as we do see Berger there just hitting the back of Gonzaga. But yeah, it's because you get the overtake done there, but then by the time you get down towards Les Combes, the car behind has got the slipstream, or you know, in some cases DRS, and used the battery and got past. So yeah, it's a very weird place indeed to overtake. I think the only place the only time it really matters is maybe lap 1 of a race, if you've got cars that don't have that much slipstream in them, but that isn't very common now in the world of motorsport. So yes, it's certainly an odd place to see cars overtake. As Sorensen goes past Lip there, going up into third. So I'm not sure if Lip made a mistake somewhere heading through Blanchimont down towards the bus stop chicane there. But Barry's still in the lead ahead of Friedrich in second place, and Sorensen now up into that top 3. But I reckon that these top 4 here, they know they've got themselves a top 4 secured due to the gap back to Reitonen. So they're not going to fight as hard because they're guaranteed decent points here. Whereas in the feature race, it might be a little bit different, being as the points unavailable are a lot more.
Yeah, I think you could be right there, but this could hurt Lib, to be honest. As, yeah, we don't really know what happened there. It could have been through Blanchimont. He just got a bit caught out there by the dirty air. As well, he has been leading the race so far, so maybe just didn't anticipate the lack of downforce following another car. As here comes Friedrich once again, probably going to absolutely blast past James Barry. And remember, these front two are part of the same team, so they definitely will be on comms to each other, but I guess they are technically fighting for a championship against each other, so got to be a bit sensible when it comes to that, as Lelive, Christian-Barken and Reitonen still going to battle. So careful, Lelive, as these positions don't actually technically mean anything for you, as he's flashing Christian-Barken there, clearly not happy with the way the Norwegian is driving. Perhaps he thinks he's quicker than him, or maybe just thinks that maybe he did something on purpose. Not quite sure there. But the Frenchman maybe getting a bit hot under the collar there as he's continuing to flash.
Ooh, nearly went for a move around the outside there, heading through in towards Pirwon corner, and still on the back here of Gestrand-Barken as we head our way in towards the next chicane here, looking to go for a move around the outside, but no, you can see there the Norwegian defence move perfectly heading through into that complex of corners, and of course all this battling here does bring in lots of Kyrgiakopoulos, Bjorklund and Locke, who of course is fighting with Leliva for the AM category, so of course Leliva would rather be a lot further ahead than he is to Locke. Oh, as Gestrand-Barken goes wide heading through out of Stavelo, and now puts Leliva right on his tail as they head their way through into Blanchimont corner, and we'll see. Will it be a move to the outside? It will be. A brilliant overtaking opportunity here for Leliva, and goes up into P5, but runs a little bit wide, and still, I think, has got that move completed there.
Potentially, yes, but will he be able to keep it into Lecom? I highly doubt it. He's lost a huge amount of time to Reitonen ahead. And, well, it was risky going... Oh, now Christian-Barken's flashing Leliva, so... I don't think these guys are the best of friends as Christian-Barken continues to flash Leliva. I'm feeling tensions rising here. Yeah. And, well, yeah, he's still flashing. Christian-Barken really not happy with Leliva, and obviously Leliva not happy with Christian-Barken, so that should be an entertaining one. Here we go then, back up to the lead. This is going to be a change of position for the lead again, as Barry now trying to defend from Sorensen. Is Sorensen going to go up the inside? He thinks about it. Is he late enough on the brakes? He is, as Lip tries to go up the inside of Friedrich. A huge, colossal amount of cars trying to go into the same space at once, and Lip has just about squeezed ahead of Andreas Friedrich, and that was not the way that the insert team racing team wanted that to go at all, as Barry kind of tried to defend the inside from Sorensen, as he could see him gaining so quickly, but just did not react enough, I think, and just kind of left the door open on the inside. And now it's advantage Lasse Sorensen in the lead of this race.
Yeah, it did look like at one point Barry just thought, you know what, we'll let him through, because of course he'll have that slipstream, but of course would rather not get into contact. So it could be a little bit tactical there from James Barry, but still sits in that second place as they head through the Lafanya chicane and down towards Stavelo once again. Of course, that gap behind to Reitonen is also still increasing there, just over 4 seconds, and then back to Gestrand-Barken in P6 there with Leliva, who's dropped off a little bit there. So the Norwegian got the move back ahead of the Frenchman, has pulled away slightly and will continue trying to catch up to Reitonen for that top 5. But I've got to say, slipstream in these cars is absolutely mental, isn't it? You can see how much time they're gaining down towards the bus stop chicane here. Of course, looking back at Barry, has just gained 2 or 3 tenths by doing pretty much nothing.
Ooh, gotta be careful though as we start to lock up towards the end of this race. And well, this should be the second to last lap of the race. So we've got 2 laps, ladies and gentlemen, of hard action racing left, as that's a lapped car I believe, yeah, that's Gordon Howe, who's had a bit of a dreadful race and toes back to the pits as he lets our leaders through, and they can continue on their merry way. And I just think he gave up, to be honest. It just looked like he pulled over to the side of the road and thought, you know what, I'm lost. I'm like a lap or two down. I can't be bothered. So I'm going to, go to the toilet or have a drink or something. So, clearly something happened to Gordon Haug, and this is him actually with a bundle of cars. So he's obviously had a big one at some point, sliding there through the bus stop chicane. Does he make contact with anyone?
No.
He doesn't, so he should have been able to continue. I have the feeling something else has happened to him along the way, and that's why he's ended up so far down the grid. But either way, it's the end of his heat race, and hopefully we get to see him in the feature race, make a little bit of a comeback from last on the grid, as Lip now leads this train at the front of the field. Barry is still in second place. Sorensen fell to third. Friedrich is still in fourth. And here's this bundle of cars that we've been watching slowly over the course of the race. Bjorkland has managed to get his way into sixth magically. Christian Barken has obviously lost 2 places at some point, as Reitinen still is just about ahead of the slipstream. And, well, hopefully he can just about keep this gap and stay in fifth until the end.
Yeah, because if those guys caught up there, that would certainly make his job a lot harder here, as this is Gabriel Berger on the back of Gonzaga for P17. Of course, these two caught up in that incident at the start of the race in La Source, and of course, definitely not the way they'd like to go through into the feature race, but they will be starting 17th and 18th either way. So they've now just got to get themselves to the end. Of course, with Larson being in 19th, they still want to have that extra position, as we have a big bundle of cars, the top 4 here, heading through into La Source for the final lap of the race. Lip takes the lead, heading into turn number 1, and Sorensen here on the back of Barry, and definitely not stupid enough there to make a send into turn 1, as Barry, though, goes very deep. Oh, and that allows Sorensen to have a better run, heading up to Rouge and Radion here.
Yeah, that was not good from James Barry at all, and that could have possibly just gifted Christoph Lip the lead of this race, and will pretty much minimize these guys' chances to try and win this one. It could just be a battle for second, but let's not forget how powerful the slipstream is, as Sorensen blasts his way past. Friedrich also. Barry is just a sitting duck at this point. Who will be in second place by the time we enter the Lacombe chicane? It's so close between Sorensen and Andreas Friedrich. That was super close. They were playing with fire. The iRacing netcode very much behaving today, which is what we love to see, as James Barry just was an absolute sitting duck on that straight. He could just do nothing. It's like the other cars had DRS and he was on about 50 horsepower. It was so painful to watch. But I don't think, unless Friedrich absolutely stamps on it, that he'll get another chance at the lead of this race. Or could we see exactly the same as what happened on Friday, and Friedrich will just send it into the last corner? We will wait and find out. We've not got too many corners to find out, only about 5 or 6 to go here at Spa-Francorchamps on the first heat race of today. And then we've got 45 minutes of hell afterwards, so that should be fun. Introducing pit stops into the mix as people try and fuel save with this very powerful slipstream. Oh, here we go then. Out of turn 16 we go. Who's it going to be? Where is it going to be? Barry potentially fighting for a podium, and I think Christoph Lip has just about got enough of a gap to be safe. Friedrich is not going to get the fairy tale ending that he wanted to on this last lap, but Barry definitely has a chance to try and go for this last place on the podium. Gonna have to be careful, super late on the brakes, but that's way too deep. And, well, you may as well go for it. He did. Fair play to James Barry, but he will not end up on the podium. And it's Christoph Lip winning the opening heat race here at Spa, as that's a car that's been sent round at the final corner. I believe it was Grestenbarken who finished in 10th place eventually. I don't think that was contact, but I could be completely wrong. So let's find out. Into the last chicane we go. Is it going to be contact? I think it was netcode.
Yeah, could have been, or maybe he's also rear on the X, so that's also a possibility, but definitely not the way he wanted that race ended to go here, as we have the helicopter view as we head our way into the bus stop chicane here. Of course, we've got Kiriakopoulos on the outside. Oh, yes, I think there was a bit of contact. It might have also been netcode there. Close one indeed.
Yeah, that definitely looked like a little bit of netcode. They were playing with fire there. I think without netcode, they would have just avoided contact, but that's a real shame as they all raced mostly cleanly that entire race. So a very good start. Very good start. Mostly clean up at the front. Obviously had that lap 1 incident, and hopefully we can avoid the same thing happening. But so this next race is going to be very, very different. It's going to be a different kettle of fish completely, as there is a car smoking in the pit lane, and that's the most amount of smoke I've ever seen in iRacing. I'm surprised something isn't on fire. I didn't even know iRacing had that good of smoke effects, but there you are. As yeah, that opening race really did show us what drivers can do in a sprint race, and this next feature race, I mean, with the added fuel saving and the pit stops, it's going to be something completely different. We're going to see, well, in my mind anyway, a lot more passive driving.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the gap in the championship is just over 11 points, if I got that correct. So there would have also been a little bit of even some changes in the championship, I think, from that race. They were lip finishing in first ahead of Friedrich and Barry. So going into this again, the points at the top 3 is all mixed up, and you never know who's going to come out with it.
Yeah, you don't. But so that's the good bit of racing, where you have no idea what's going to happen. And that's where you absolutely lose your mind. As Christoph Lipp probably lost his mind in that opening race, as he had to fight for his life out there. It was an absolute onslaught. It was like 300, if you will. But he ended up winning. I don't think he'll much care. Maximum points from that opening race, as Andreas Friedrich just had to settle for second in the end. And that was pretty much down to Barry's mistake into turn 1. As he obviously ended up finishing in 4th. Sorensen got the last place on the podium. Reitinen showed some decent pace as well, just holding on to 5th place. Bjorklund, a cheeky little comeback from the Norwegian, as he finished in 6th place. Kiriakopoulos as well, after being spun in turn 1, finishing in 7th place. Very impressive indeed. Laliva ended up winning in the AMS just about, as Adam Locke, another driver who managed to make his way through the field again after a difficult opening lap, ended up in 2nd in the AMS and 9th overall. Grestenbarkin, obviously, with that last corner incident in 10th. Iani, 11th. Scarreton, 12th. Tom Euler from pole all the way to 3rd in the AMS, down in 13th place. Let's see what he can do in that 45-minute race. As Damien Gee in 14th. Mellis, 15th. Robertson, 16th. Berger, 17th. Gonzaga, 18th. Larson, 19th. And Gordon Haug in 20th place, as the drivers just get a couple minutes to take a breather now before they prepare themselves for a fairly lengthy race that will take them all the way until about 10:30 for most of these guys that are in Europe. So
it's a late one.
Yeah, very much. They should probably all get a good nap in for these next few minutes.
Oh, definitely. But obviously we've got 45 minutes of what will be absolute chaos here around Spa. Of course, 20 drivers. I've got to say, though, I do feel a bit bad here for Tom Euler, to starting down in P13 after such a good qualifying up in the top 10. But of course, you saw the lots of Bjorklund as well move up in towards the top 6. So I'll be keen to see what he can do heading through in towards the next race. But the fight between the top 3 and possibly the top 4, depending if Sorensen can get involved, will be rather interesting indeed, because we had a brilliant race for the past 15 minutes. But going into this one as well, we'll see if they take more of a quiet tactic to it, and not really bothering making all those overtakes, being as it'll be such a longer race than it was beforehand.
Yeah, you'd think on paper that it would be a lot more tame, and I usually say this every single time we do this broadcast, that they'll try and save fuel, they'll be sensible, and then that doesn't end up happening and they all crash into turn 1. So we'll see if they take my advice and actually do the sensible thing. But having been a sim racing driver myself, I can tell you, we don't do sensible things. We just want to be in front of the car ahead. I mean, can you blame us? We're here to race. We're here to have fun. And that's what some of these guys are going to do. As we know, James Barry usually can be an absolute menace when it comes to fuel saving. I still don't know how he does it. He always just ends up being the quickest one. And are we going to see it again? Probably. With the slipstream here, he'll end up saving about a lap more fuel than everyone else, and will have no explanation for how he does it.
But of course, I'm interested as well to see what Gordon Howe can do, starting down from the back of the field. Of course, definitely not the first race he would have wanted here at Spa, but of course has triple the time here in the feature race to try and make something work. So we'll see what he can do down from near the back, as we do see Bjorklund here heading through to P1. Of course, a brilliant job in the race. Of course, a poor qualifying, but certainly made up for it heading through into the 45-minute feature race. So could still be a top 5 possibly on the cards here for Bjorklund, but then again, turn 1 causes chaos on lap 1, so the race for some might be over before it's really even started.
Yeah, definitely. And, well, maybe you have a bit of a better chance to get your own back in this feature race, as 45 minutes is a long time compared to 15. You've got, I'd say, about 22 laps, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less in that feature race. And of course, the fuel saving, if you have an incident on the first lap, you can always just duck into the pits and hope it sticks, as that's what most drivers end up doing. And, well, sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't. And Spa being quite heavy on fuel, I mean, you're foot flat to the floor for most of the lap is not too surprising. As we're only just getting the lap times in this warm-up session. It just goes to show just how long this track is. I mean, 2 minutes and 13 seconds. I mean, Jesus Christ. And these cars are quick. I want to emphasize that these cars are quick, and yet we are still getting very, very long lap times here at Spa. And, well, that's their little mini break over, as whatever they did in those 5 minutes, go on their phone, maybe doom scroll on TikTok, have a quick drink, go to the toilet, whatever they ended up doing, it's all over. They got to get their heads back in the game now, prepare themselves for the next 45 minutes of this Francorchamps circuit, as it's going to be Christoph Lipp lining up on the pole position after winning that opening heat race. Andreas Friedrich is going to be alongside him. And will we get a different start this time? Will some drivers maybe bottle it going into turn 1? Will we get a cleaner turn 1 than we did on that first lap? Oh, there's only one way to find out, isn't there? By going racing, as we patiently just wait for the last few drivers to line up on the grid. And, well, as in the first race, we're just waiting for Kyriakopoulos. He loves being late to the party. He always wants to be the last one on the grid, as he is now on the grid, and we patiently await those 5 red lights to go out. It's so tense building up in this grid as we go underway here at Spa. It's a good start once again from your front 2. Bit of a poor start there for Kyriakopoulos. As we head into turn 1, is it going to be clean? Sorensen up the inside, try not to make contact. There is a bit of contact, and that's going to give Christoph Lipp a bit of a buffer, and you cannot let that happen, as he will romp away with it if you are not careful. Let's not go 3 wide into Erosion Radion, as they do eventually sensibly back out of it. Now, what do they do here? They know they've got a bit of a gap to Lipp already after a bit of a poor turn 1. Are they going to fight each other? They are, as Friedrich tries to go past Sorensen. This is a bit risky, but he is gaining so much on the car ahead as they head now into Le Combe for the first time. It's been clean so far. Bit of a lock-up there, I think, from Grestenbarken, as he has to take to this escape road, and that's going to be a hefty slowdown for the Norwegian. Has to be careful coming back on the track, but so far, our 20-car field all getting through very, very cleanly.
Yeah, so far, so good, as we just see here, just from Bracken heading through into to number 9 at Ravage, and just following through here with Andreas Friedrich in second place now. Just over a second separates Lipp and Friedrich, so Friedrich will definitely have to put up the pace as we continue on through P1 corner on lap 1, as we do see Sorensen as well there up in third. A very good start from Bjorklund to go up into the top 4, and then Barry in the top 5 there with Oliva right behind. Also had a very good start, did the AM driver, and the next AM driver will be in P11. That'll be Gabriel Berger, who also had a decent start here in this race, as we head our way through to the double right-handers, and then we'll head back down to Blanche-Chaman. And with a few cars being quite close together, we'll see if we have any more overtakes heading down to the bus stop chicane.
Well, it's very, very much possible on this opening lap, And we saw it a couple of times in the previous race. Are we going to see it again as Friedrich is just slowly gaining back on Christoph Lipp? But Sorensen is going to want to occupy that second place spot. They really cannot afford to fight because they will lose a huge amount of time. Huge amount of time to Lipp if they're not careful. And, well, with the pace that we saw from Lipp in qualifying, you do not want to let him go, as that's Greschenbarken coming into the pit lane already. I wonder if this is scheduled or not. He does not have a penalty or anything, so this is either going to be damaged or he's thinking, why not? Let's just go for it. Let's go ugly early. Let's get the pit stop over with right now. As, of course, he had that slowdown after going off the track at Lecombe on the first lap. So not the best of starts for Greschenbarken. And now just biting the bullet with that first pit stop. As here comes Lasse Sorensen down the Camel Straight. Into Lecombe we go. He should have the position neatly up into second place. And they're 4 tenths behind Christoph Lipp. But does Sorensen have the pace to keep up with Lipp during this tight and twisty part of the middle bit of Spa?
I mean, the good thing is I think the top 4 are very close on pace, so as long as Sorensen and Friedrich keep swapping down towards Lecombe, it just brings them a little bit closer to Christoph Lipp in the lead. So maybe that is a strategy by those to just keep swapping over that position, using that slipstream to gain in to the leader, and then, of course, eventually get within enough of a gap then to try and charge after Lipp themselves, of course. 3 minutes into the 45-minute race, of course, Christoph Lipp with a good start, but definitely can't really get too comfortable at all until the end of the race. So we'll see how Lipp does over these next couple of laps. Is Sorensen really gaining in now as they head their way through the La Lafania chicane? The gap just over 5 tenths of a second now as they head down towards the double right-handers. And further back as well, a poor start from Barry. Still down in P4, of course, dropped down to P5 after lap 1, but got himself back up into the top 4 and would like to get past Friedrich and maybe charge after the top 2. Looking further down as well, we can see Berger on the back of Scarrett there for P10, so we'll see if he can try and move up into the top 10, even though he's an AM driver. And then as well, Adam Locke. Bit of a poor start, already over a second back from Berger, down in P12.
Well, here goes Sorensen, potentially for the lead of the race, but into the bus stop chicane. Not really an ideal overtake on this opening few laps anyway, as it does just leave you very, very vulnerable going down the Camel Straight. You may as well just wait for the Camel Straight to get the overtake done. And that's exactly what we've seen from most of our top drivers so far. And, well, so just to show you how powerful the slipstream is, I think Lipp had at one point a 1.1 second lead on that opening lap. And still, the slipstream was so powerful that he just could not pull away. And I have the feeling as soon as he saw the gaps of the cars behind, he desperately was trying and pushing on that opening lap to spread that gap as much as he could, but couldn't do it. And now, well, you're seeing the evidence of the slipstream as he gets overtaken by not 1 but 2 cars as we head into Lecombe. Once again, Sorensen down to second, Friedrich up to first, as Barry painfully just watching this happen in front of his eyes. The championship leader really just cannot do anything at the moment. I just don't think he has the pace to match these front 3, especially we saw that during qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. But obviously, the issue that he's now got is Bjorklund's right behind him with Leliva following in behind. So Barry's also got to be a little bit concerning of those positions behind us. We have seen the slipstream is OP around this circuit. I mean, I think Sorensen at one point gained half a second on Lipp down that straight. Obviously, once he got past him, which is absolutely insane. Shows how good these cars are when it comes to the slipstream as we head our way through in towards the chicane once again. And Barry really being closed in now by Bjorklund in P5, so that could certainly be a battle to watch along, but also Lipp as well. Falling a little bit further back now into Barry, so Lipp's not had the best lap here as we head our way round and up towards Bonchemont very shortly. Further back as well, of not sure what's happened to Adam Locke, but he's dropped down to P13, and Berger up into the top 9. Those two were a position apart, so not sure what's happened there between those two. But in the AM category, it's Lever that leads Berger, that leads Locke.
I don't even think anything necessarily happened to Locke. I just think Berger has made some nice progress, to be honest. I think Berger's having a stormer of a race as he's about to make it even better. Going down the outside on Scarrett into the last corner, and he does get it done. But like we've mentioned before, it can leave you vulnerable, possibly going into turn 1. And he might just let Scarrett go back past, to be honest, and then just re-overtake him. as we head down the Kemmel Straight. Iani just watching this battle happen in front of his eyes in 4K. He's got the best seat in the house, so that's a good exit for Berger, as now him and Scarrett are going to go side by side. Scarrett does lift off, though, potentially trying to seek out the slipstream. Not very surprising, as we've seen the effects over the course of that first race, and now we're seeing it here in the opening 7 minutes of this one, as James Barry losing a place to Bjorklund as he goes up to 4th place. Sorensen now into the lead, Friedrich down to 2nd, Lip still in 3rd. And Barry did manage to hold on to that 4th place in the end, but coming under pressure from Bjorklund, it's not really an ideal situation for Barry at all.
Yeah, certainly not, considering how close they are in the standings. Of course, going into the first race, it was Barry in the lead with 236, and then Friedrich on 227, and then Christoph Lipp on 225. So a 4th and a 4th compared to your 2 other competitors on the podium certainly will not help your championship and being in the lead as we head our way through Puonen. And there, just watching Barry under pressure here from Bjorklund, and would at least like to keep that top 4 if possible. But Bjorklund has had some decent pace here in the race, shown it obviously in the sprint race when he made quite a few positions, and then of course now showing he has got the pace to fight for that top 4. And yet again, Christoph Lipp there a little bit further behind Friedrich there, that gap just over 6/10, so looking to try and yet again fall back into Barry, and that brings Barry back into the equation. And that's how these, this racing works here around this circuit. The cars are constantly going back and forth, back and forth. You never really know who's in the best situation, because one lap later it can all change.
Yes, exactly. And, well, it's amazing for us spectators, but as a driver, from experience, I can tell you it is absolutely horrible. It's an awful feeling, because you are just not in control of the situation at all. No matter how hard you push, no matter how hard you try, you cannot get away from the cars behind unless there's some kind of mistake or whatever. And it is just torture. So really the only thing you can do is just take it easy for this opening stint. Just save as much fuel as you can. And actually being at the front is probably not the best thing to do, as you are just punching a massive hole for everyone behind, using up all your fuel to help the guys behind. So probably the best ones in this situation right now are the likes of Lip and Barry, who are just sitting there patiently, just waiting for their opportunity later on as Friedrich and Sorensen trade places once again. And is that going to be Barry trying to sneak up the inside of Lip? I think Lip saw that one coming from a mile away and chose to broke a little bit later than he would normally, and managed to keep onto that 3rd place for now. And I must say, Reitinen and Lalive are holding on to this pack rather well. I mean, I know the slipstream is just mega powerful, but they're still doing a good job. That's Gonzaga and I believe Haug who've had an incident.
Yeah, and Gonzaga's gone off the circuit, heading out of Lake Common, certainly not what he would have wanted. Down to P17, once again, has been a very poor evening here, so I believe we will have a replay of what happened. Heading down in towards the Lake Common chicane. You can see moves being made. Oh, we go 3 wide.
Oh, dear.
Oh, Haug's round. Gonzaga gets caught up, definitely not what they would have wanted there.
Well, probably the exact opposite of what they would have wanted. And, well, Lacombe has been a bit of a tricky corner for some, both in real life and in sim, for overtaking. You just kind of need the cooperation of both drivers going into there, just knowing where each other are, leaving each other enough space. As, I mean, first down to 7th, 2.5 seconds. I mean, this is the kind of stuff we want to see. I mean, I know not necessarily they're all in contention for the win, but it just looks nice. It's just amazing to see so many skilled drivers going at it. It's a bit of a risky move from Sorensen going into the last corner. Nevertheless, it was bloody good anyway. Up into 1st he goes, but we'll probably lose that position in just about 6 corners time.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's just how it works, isn't it? You go into that corner first, and you're not going to create him first unless somehow the guys behind make a big mistake and drop a few tenths of a second. And either way, you can still probably get that first position by being maybe 5-6 tenths back, maybe even more, depending how what type of run you have. Heading up our Rouge and Radion and down towards the Lake Common chicane. We did see Friedrich was 6 tenths back. He's now within 2.5 as we head our way down to Lake Common. Will it be enough to get a move up for the lead as we head to the braking zone now? And no, chooses to stick behind. But Obviously, Friedrich there had more than enough to get past, so you're probably looking at 6.5 tenths max, which is, it's a big gap, isn't it, that generally?
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely massive. I mean, one could argue that the run from La Source all the way to Le Combe is quite big. But at the same time, you know, it's... is it the slipstream, or is it just the fact that it's just a very, very long distance? As Kirikopolis trying to get past Gresham Barkin, as they've both had a bit of a horrid feature race so far, as I believe they've both made early pit stops, which I was just thinking to myself, I can't really imagine the undercut at this track working at all. I think the overcut very much is the way to go.
I mean, I was surprised there to see Kiriakopoulos pit because he was up in P11, so it wasn't like he was in a bad position. So just going for something a little bit different, or maybe got a bit of damage or something on the car and had to pit for that reason. But yeah, definitely in normal circumstances, quite early to make that pit stop and to go to the end here. As we do see Alexander Scarrett here in P9 on the back of Gabriel Berger, and of course behind him will be Iani, who's not had the best race at all here. Of course, was up in the top 5 in the sprint race, and of course got involved in that incident down at La Source, and he's now just trying to get himself back up into some decent points positions as we head our way down to the bus stop chicane here. We do see Scarrett on the X-dot of Berger for P8 as we head into the braking zone now. Will we see that move be completed? And no, Berger just about gets it done, and harsh defence there from Berger, showing that even though he's an AM driver, he's not going to let the pros just pass him and move their way forward.
And may as well go wheel to wheel if you can, as Berger is quite a long ways away from Lelive, so not really in contention for the win at this time. As Sorensen just opened up a little bit of a gap coming out of La Source, but we obviously know it's nowhere near enough. As just look at that time coming down and down and down. It genuinely is like everyone else, has about 100 more horsepower than Sorensen. As Lip now overtakes both Friedrich and Sorensen as we head into Le Combe with Lip in the lead, and this is all it's going to be for probably the next 15 minutes, I reckon. You know, whenever the fuel tanks run out, they're just going to be trading positions over and over and over. As, again, the top 7, 1.6 seconds. It's just getting closer and closer every single lap as they all just try to outsmart each other. But obviously, it's not really going to work in these opening laps.
Yeah, I mean, these are the types of gaps you expect with F1 cars who've got DRS and all this, you know, all this assistance to get moves past. These cars have got none of that. They've just got the raw, you know, the raw aerodynamics to help move up, and you know, they're within 1.8 seconds of top 7. Absolutely brilliant. But of course, the big shame that has is for those down further. So you got Larson, Berger, all those. They can't catch up because of how much that slipstream affects those in the top 7. So they're kind of stuck where they are. And for them, a top 8 will be probably at best, unless some of these probably get involved in an incident. I mean, I can't see these 7 go at it all race and not one of them gets off on the lower hand. I'm sure that will definitely happen to one of them, but of course we certainly hope not, as we head our way down to the bus stop chicane once again. And Sorensen here right on the rear of Christoph Lip, looking to try and take the lead of the race as we head our way into the bus stop chicane now, just through Blanchimont down to the braking zone as well. Further behind as well, we do see Bjorklund looking to get past Barry, but Sorensen goes around the outside, backs out, and lets Lip keep that lead for now as we head our way back down towards La Source. And further behind we got Friedrich as well as Leliva looking to get up into the top 3. Brilliant job here from the young Frenchman in the YAM class.
Well, we know he's not really got the pace, but the slipstream is just making him believe. And that's all you need as a driver. He's doing absolutely fantastically so far. Again, it's a shame that it's not really for points, and it's just for show up into 4th. And, well, potentially could get better for the young Frenchman. As through Radion we go onto the Kemmel Straight once again. It's going to be switcheroo positions. Here we go. Sorensen trying to attack Lip, choosing to defend, which is an interesting course of action. As Lip now trying to defend from Friedrich. Interesting from these two. Going at it rather, I was about to say hard, but that was going to sound a bit suspicious, to be honest. But Lip defending nicely there from Friedrich, just about holding on. And creating a tiny gap to Sorensen up ahead, which he definitely does not want to do. But yeah, I keep saying this, you know, oh, they're creating a gap, but he'll just gain it back within this next few corners, as he's already back to 6 tenths within Sorensen.
Yeah, and then give it a lap time, it'll be back down and Slip will be back in the lead. You know, it's going to be like this all race now, just over 15 minutes of the way through, 8 laps into this race here in Spa. And Sorensen, of course, looking very strong. I mean, always a contender for a top 5, but not necessarily one that you can always say will be fighting for the lead. But of course, the way that the slipstream works around here, anyone can really fight for the lead if you're in that right position at the right time. Because, you know, if you count it technically, we've got the likes of Rotonen in that lead train, and also one of our Rams as well involved. So this is a brilliant job for some of these to get themselves some much deserved points here in their championship, and of course in the leaver sake to get a nice bit of a gap to obviously he is currently down in P4 in the standings, so not an ideal position to be in, being 50 points off Adam Locke, but he's down in P18 and has pitted, so the lever will still gain some points into the championship lead there.
Yeah, hopefully Leliva can get a good result today, as he's obviously had a bit of a difficult time so far this season. Definitely always been there, but just sometimes has maybe had a bit of a mistake or made a bit of a silly decision, or the luck hasn't really gone his way. And the result today, you know, a win in the amateur class would definitely boost his championship hopes, as Locke obviously has had a bit of a horrid time today. Not horrid, but just a bit poor, just lacks a bit of pace around here at Spa. As we start to draw towards night time, the headlights come on and it's going to get even more devious than it already is. As are we going to go 3 wide for second place in the race? Lelive is definitely going to have a go. Go on, young Frenchman in the AM. Why not have a go at your fellow rivals, as Lip just about avoiding contact there with Leliva. And again, Netcode being surprisingly kind to Leliva and the front 3. As I do not want to know what Lip's pants look like right now, because that was absolutely horrifying to watch. But they're still in it. They're all still racing cleanly and still within 1.8 seconds of each other.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant here, the action here in Spa so far tonight. And also looking a little bit further back as well for P8, Larson is under a bit of pressure from Scarrett, and also Berger and Euler have got involved with that one. So we do have a nice little battle as well from 8 down to P11. Then, of course, further back as well, all those guys that are pitted are also closing into each other. So we've got many little races here around Spa at the moment. We've got that first 7 trailer, we've got 8th down to 11th, and then a little bit further back there, lots of Kyriakopoulos, Jestrenbacher, Miani, all involved in that little battle as well. So this could definitely create the end of the race. It could make it a little bit interesting, because these that have pitted early, if they keep themselves clean, they might actually get a bit of an advantage because of all those being stuck in the trains, such as, you know, lots of Barry, who's in P5, probably has a little bit more raw pace than what is going to, you know, than what is producing at the moment. So those who have pitted early might get a bit of an advantage from this.
Potentially, yes, but obviously we'll have to wait and see, as Barry just under pressure here from Reiteren. And Barry's lack of pace really showing at the moment, or potentially he is just fuel saving, as we know he does, and just starting to slip back from the group ahead. He does have to be careful, because the gap is extending to Lip, and he really cannot afford to let that get any bigger than it already is. Otherwise, well, he's going to lose them completely, and then it will just be the top 4 again. So you kind of have to hope that the teamwork between Reitenen and Bjorklund works out well, as I suspect Lelive, if he pushes all the way until the end of this straight, could be very close to the lead of the race. But it looks like he is saving and not really pushing as hard as he could, which is kind of what I expect most of these drivers to be doing at this stage, just saving as much fuel as they can and trying to get to those first pit stops, which I think should be in around 10 minutes time, but obviously we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't think we're that far away from some of the first pit stops coming through. I mean, some of them further back, maybe Barry, Reiteren and Bjorklund could go for an early pit stop here to try and undercut some of those in the top 4. Of course, that depends how much Barry can keep in contact with the top 4, as he is around 8/10 back as they head down to Ravage here. Just watching Kyriakopoulos here on the back of Jestrenbacher of the P14 as they head their way through into Malmedy, down to Ravage at turn 9, all a bit wide there, touching the gravel. But of course, keeps the car under perfect control heading into the braking zone. And then as well, we do see Berger as well looking to close in to the rear of Kyriakopoulos. So we'll see if he can get involved in this battle, which could be for potentially the net lead.
Well, potentially. We'll have to wait and find out, of course. As just some drivers further back, the likes of Ioni, Berger, Locke as well, still potentially in contention as well. Everyone from Gresham-Barkin downwards has already made their pit stop, and the fastest one out of all of those drivers is Gresham-Barkin himself with 11.5 seconds, which is pretty decent if my memory serves me right. Usually we're seeing around 11, well, about 10 to 12 seconds of pit stops in this series, so 11.5 is pretty good. You'd probably expect the likes of James Barry to maybe get into the 10s if he's really saving that much fuel. As well, luckily for James Barry, he's just about managed to get back into the slipstream of Christoph Lipp and didn't get dragged out, which is good. So we still have technically a 7-car battle for the lead. Is Laliva going to try go for it this lap? He could do, but is still choosing not to. And honestly, if I was an AM, I'd just say, why not? Let's lead a lap for a race. Just say that I did it. Overall, an amateur driver leading a lap would really be something.
It certainly would, and maybe Laliva knows he can do it, so he's just going to sit back and then do it right at the end and win the whole thing. You never know. As we head our way down to Rivage. But of course, an interesting thing that will happen is when these guys pit, top 7, all within a second of, well, all within 2 seconds of each other at the moment. Once they pit, those gaps will probably start to increase because I presume they'll all pit on, well, most of them will pit on different laps. So that will also be an interesting element to add to the race. What's going to hurt the undercut or the overcut? As we follow a few cars through. And what happened there to Bjorklund? He's now 1.7 seconds behind.
Well, that could have been a potential slowdown for Kim-Andre Bjorklund, and that's really a shame as it's gone down to 6 cars now, potentially fighting for the lead of the race, as well he's just a little bit too far back now to get the benefits of the slipstream. I think it's about 1.3 seconds it goes back to. I could be wrong though, and obviously we'll find out if he does gain any time, but I think that could be it for Bjorklund's challenge at the front 6 of the field, which is a real shame. But of course we still have a huge pack of cars fighting for the lead anyway, so it's still very much on for the top 6, as Barry getting very, very close to the back of Christoph Lipp. And well, I kind of just feel like we're all just waiting for those first pit stops now. We know that the battling that goes on right now isn't really going to mean anything. It's just for show, and like you said, those pit stops are going to be the make or break. Will someone manage to go a lap longer? Can someone maybe push the pit entry and exit to the max and be right on the edge of a penalty and just gain those few tenths that will mean they'll come out ahead? And well, we'll find out obviously when they eventually come, but 25 minutes into this race, over halfway now, 20 minutes to go. On lap 12 here at Spa, as Lipp choosing to attack Laliva, but I don't think he was quite close enough. I think he was a little bit hesitant. He kind of wanted to, but I just think in the end he thought better of it and had to let Laliva go.
Yeah, I mean, if those two went side by side through that one section, that's enough to bring a gap to over a second, and then of course let the top 2 run away. So possibly it could also be the fact of Lipa just wants to make sure that himself and those together at the front can all stick together till the end of the race. We do see for the down there, Kiriakopoulos going up into P13 ahead of Guy Robertson. So looking to close in a little bit more, but I definitely think that by the end, Kiriakopoulos might be a sitting duck if he's near any of these in the top 9, top 10. As just following Guy Robertson now on the back of Kiriakopoulos, heading down to Ravage corner now, and definitely not being the race that Robertson would like to remember. I don't think he's actually made a pit stop yet, and he's in P14, so certainly not the way Guy Robertson would have wanted this to go.
No, definitely not. And well, he's been struggling a little bit all season, but hey, he's still chugging along and just picking up the last few points that he can. And I believe Gresham-Barkin wants to get past Guy Robertson as soon as he can, giving him the little flash there going into Puon, and he eventually does get past Robertson up into 14th place. As through the bus stop chicane we go once more. And well, those pit stops really are going to be crucial as well. It could potentially bring Bjorklund back into this, as he's not actually really lost any time to this group. Luckily, I think they've all stopped fighting one another and have just accepted. Yep, let's all just save fuel. Let's just keep it clean. Let's not really fight. We can't afford to, open up any gaps. And well, actually, Bjorklund is closing in just a tiny bit. Now it's now 1.6 seconds. But as we get to these slipstream parts of the track, he is just, I mean, this is possibly going to be over 2 seconds by the time we get to Lecom. Sorensen goes back into the lead. I mean, look at Bjorklund just losing more and more time. And there's absolutely nothing he can do. I mean, what? He was 1.5 seconds coming out of La Source, and now
2.3.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? And that's what really does ruin the chances here for Bjorklund, is the fact that when you lose 7-8 tenths on a straight, there's nothing you can do whatsoever to catch up to that train. So for his sake, he's got to hope that he can get the pit stop right, or maybe some of these ahead can make a mistake and possibly bring the train back together again, as we have a brilliant three-wide battle here, heading down towards the Lecom chicane here. And we have Justin Bracken, Robertson and Berger involved with this one as we head our way through. And Berger goes up into P15 and Justin Bracken in P14 as we head our way through the exit of Lecom down to Malmedy and Ravage. But at the front as well, we can see the gap has started to increase there between Sorensen and Friedrich on this lap. It's nearly 7 tenths heading through.
Yeah, potentially the dirty air getting to Friedrich just a tiny bit, or maybe just starting to save more and more in the middle part of the lap. And well, as we do creep closer to the pit stops, that definitely would make a little bit of sense. But then he knows that as soon as he gets into the slipstream, he'll be right on the back of Sorensen again anyway, so it really does not matter whatsoever. As long as you're still within about 7-8 tenths, as there you go. There's Sorensen, the first driver into the pits, as does James Barry, which is a little bit strange from Barry, I must admit. We're used to him going the longest out of anyone, and yet he's one of the earliest out of these front runners to come in. And now it's Friedrich, Lelive, Lip, Reitinen, and Bjorklund just up at the front of the field who haven't pitted yet. Larson as well, just in sixth, a couple seconds behind, who also has not pitted. And well, will Lelive try and go for the lead of the race? It looks like he is going to attack Friedrich this time, but he's got Christoph Lip to worry about as well. Is Lelive feeling brave enough to lead a race as an amateur driver for the first time? He is, and this is a special moment, as I don't think we've had an amateur driver leading a race so far. And well, hats off to Dorian Lelive. He is the first driver to do so. Can he hold on to it is another question completely, as it's definitely possible. He's definitely shown he has the pace to compete up at the front in this race anyway. But will his pit stops be competitive enough? And well, I'm just going to say it. James Barry having the quickest pit stop is not a surprise. 9.8 seconds. 2 seconds faster than
made a mistake.
Anyone else. Yes, he has. I just saw that. What on earth happened?
He was 1 point something and now 6 seconds back. So he must have made a mistake heading into the bus stop into the Lecom chicane.
Yeah, definitely. Perhaps a little bit too quick. Oh, that's a bit scary there from Lasse Sorensen. And well, that's of course going to take him out of contention. Yeah, it's a big shame for Sorensen, and that has put him probably to about net 7th, I believe, at the moment.
Or possibly 8.
Yeah, it could be getting worse for Sorensen, as that's probably cooked his tyres as well. As into the bus stop we go. Is it going to be the pit stops for the last boys that haven't come in yet? I believe it is. And yes, everyone now coming into the pit lane. And we are going to keep a firm eye on where everyone is going to be. As James Barry obviously having a mega pit stop. 9.8 seconds. Is it going to be enough to propel him into the lead of the race? Let's find out. As everyone else now finally pulling into their pit stalls, as it's obviously agonizingly slow in the pit lane compared to racing out there, foot flat to the floor. And as we just wait now, James Barry has gotten past Larson, of course, and it looks like he's in the lead, but remember, he has to cut through into turn 1. Is James Barry going to be in the lead of the race? He is. But is it going to be enough towards the end of this race as Lip now comes out in second place? Lelive comes out in third place. Very, very good from the Ant driver, must be said. As Larson and Sorensen are now close to one another, that's definitely not what we thought we'd be saying after these first round of pit stops. Reitinen had a bit of a poor pit stop as well. He's dropped off. So, and Bjorklund's brought himself back into this. So it's kind of just the top 5 now in contention for the lead of this race.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, so far, I think that Lelive is probably the one that's looking the strongest.
Weirdly, I might agree with you, actually. He probably has a tiny bit more fuel than the other guys, as it seems like Barry and Lip might be fuel saving just to eke out that pit stop time a little bit more, whereas Lelive can push a tad more than the two ahead of him. But, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's going to be about pace. It's just going to be about positioning and strategy heading on to that final lap. Like, where do I go for the moves? Do I think I'll be able to hold on to track position towards the end of the lap? It's so much on the mind at a race like this where slipstream is the absolute key to everything. And genuinely, weirdly, it is between Lelive, Lip, and Barry for the lead of the race. Friedrich is about 8/10 behind, and perhaps he can gain back up to the top 3. Bjorklund as well has brought himself back into this with an amazing pit stop. But James Barry leading the way so far. And can he hold on to it to potentially extend that championship lead? I believe Lip would have gone into second place by now.
Yep.
As Friedrich under pressure from Bjorklund. And I mean, what do they do for these next 12 minutes? Do they just kind of have a truce for these next like 10 odd minutes, and then on the final lap do they just go balls to the wall?
I mean, that's what happens normally in F1, and we have situations similar to this over on that side of racing. So yeah, we'll see whether they take that stance, or maybe they just want to think, well, actually, I'd rather lead a lot more, so I'll just go for the lead on the lap I can go for it, and then see what happens at the end. But surely they've got to be thinking about race wins now. With 10 minutes to go, they've got to think, right, we're going to stick behind in second and third. But then Barry will want to be in a position where he wants to be in second or third. So that's why we'll see that swapping and changing. We do see Lip here looking to take the lead away from Barry and Lelive as well, looking to try and take second away from James Barry as we head into the Lacombe chicane. And will Barry go back for the lead? I think Barry's going to send it back up the inside, and Barry does keep the lead heading into the Lacombe chicane. Barry has the lead, Lip in second, Lelive in third, and further back as well. Bjorklund's had a bit of a poor couple of laps, and Friedrich just looking to try and get past and close in.
Yeah, I believe it was Bjorklund that managed to get past Friedrich, and they have lost a little bit of time in the last few corners, and they are just about still in the slipstream, but only just. They really do have to be careful, otherwise they're just going to be fighting for fourth in the end, and that's going to hurt Friedrich, who's, you know, obviously in contention for the championship, and he's going to see that his championship rivals are P1 and 2 right now, so that's definitely going to hurt Andreas Friedrich. And, well, James Barry, of course, with that incredible pit stop promoting him into the lead, as Bjorklund going for rallying on the outside of Stavolo, really pushing the limits of that SR10 to try and stay in the slipstream. And he still is, but again, only just to Lelive in front. And Lelive, of course, will be pulling away as he is closer to the car in front, getting more benefits of the slipstream. As Lasse Sorensen now fighting for 7th place with Sally Reisenen, who of course had a pit stop error, I believe, somewhere, maybe a bit too much fuel when Sorensen had his own error around the outside, potentially. Sorensen just wasn't brave enough on the brakes as he actually still went deep into the corner, but just not enough for the Norwegian.
Yep, certainly not. As we do see Sorensen here heading down to La Source, looking to try and make a move ahead of Reitenen, but not quite close enough as we head our way through there, and yet again back down towards Eau Rouge and Radion here, following our leaders. James Barry in the lead, Christoph Lip in second place, and Lelive looking to close in as well, who's currently sitting in third, and Friedrich definitely not in the position he wants to be in down in P5, but Lip does take the lead away from James Barry, and Lelive this time could be looking for a move for second place as we head down towards the Lacombe chicane, as we head our way in. And I don't think, no move made there by Lelive, and I think Barry tried to get that lead back again, but on this occasion wasn't quite close enough. Heading into the Lacombe chicane as we head our way down to Ravage, and we'll see if any moves can be made here. But as usual, no moves can be made down towards Ravage at all. So they'll follow each other through, and definitely the top three looking the strongest at this point. I don't think Bjorklund and Friedrich can really get that involved, considering they are a little bit further back at the moment.
Yeah, this is just going to be a patient waiting game now for the next 7 odd minutes. Just waiting for that last opportunity, that last lap to get those overtakes in. And as a driver, it's stressful. It really is. It's just, you're just waiting for the last lap at this point. These next few laps, you've just got to get through it. Make sure that you can keep up with the guys ahead. And just get yourself in a good position on that last lap to slingshot past and just hope that it sticks and it's enough to end up winning the race. As well, of course, we know how quick Lip can be, but just at a track like this, it's very similar kind of racing that we get at the Watkins Glen Classic layout. It's just there's absolutely nothing anyone can do because it's just pure slipstream the entire time. And it's not quite as bad as an oval. There are some, corners on this track where things happen. So, it's a lot better than an oval anyway. But the slipstream aspect definitely, you could say, is fairly similar.
Yeah, it certainly is, as we just follow the cars through once again. And of course, Larson now up into P6 ahead of Sorensen and Reutinen, so having a decent race. Is Larson. I'm sure he was down in like P18, P19 at the start, so it's been a very good run here from Larson in the top 6 as we do follow with the leaders once again now, and Lip under pressure from Leliva, who takes the lead heading down to Lacombe, and Bjorklund as well making a move ahead of Barry. Into second place goes Bjorklund, a brilliant move as we head our way into the Lacombe chicane. Of course, you can see Lip there on the outside as we head our way through, and Lip back with the inside line heading through in towards Malmedy, keeps that second place, but a brilliant charge there from Kim-Andre Bjorklund in P3.
Yeah, that was extremely unexpected, and still with a few laps to go here at Spa, they've all just decided, you know what, fine, let's just race, I'm bored, let's just do this, I want to get some racing under my belt. And Bjorklund and Oliva definitely decided that now was the time, and it's hurt Lip a little bit. It's obviously lost him the lead of the race and lost him a bit of time, but he should be able to gain that back within the next few corners anyway. And once we get back down to the end of the lap, it should be around 4.3 of a second. And, it would take quite a lot, Bjorklund and Lip to make contact for Leliva to be able to pull away. As, even the likes of Barry and Friedrich would still be in contention once they drove past. But this is, the tension's definitely rising within these top 5 drivers who have been absolutely spectacular. Not only just during this feature race, but just as a whole today. They have been very, very entertaining, very, very fair, very respectful of one another, and provided us with some great, great racing.
Yep, they have indeed. It's been brilliant here around Spa as we do see Reutinen and Sorensen fight their way through down to the bus stop chicane as well for P6. And Sorensen will come out in P6 just for now ahead of those two, as we can see them just heading out to the final corner as our lead train head down to La Source at turn number 1, where we begin another lap here. 19 completed as we head our way through to Rouge and Radion. Just over 5 minutes to go here in this race. So this is where we get to the crunch time, and where the opportunities for overtakes become more and more scarce as time gets on. So these drivers now, the positions they are making might be a little bit more concrete than they were 10 minutes ago. So do see maybe a double move there on Leliva, down towards the Lacombe chicane. And Bjorklund now has the lead in his hands ahead of Lip, and Leliva looking to defend here from James Barry as we head our way into the chicane. And Leliva, who was in the lead a minute ago, now down to P3.
Many drivers who have not led a race so far this season doing so for the first time, popping their leading race cherry. Bjorklund and Leliva doing it for the first time. And I can imagine it's definitely a good feeling to do it in such a competitive series. And Leliva and Bjorklund definitely in contention for this win now. And Lip probably just getting frustrated that this win is not as comfortable as he would like. And it's just a repeat of what happened on Friday. definitely had the pace, as that was a poor poo-on from Leliva. He lost a huge amount of time, and Barry thought about a move there, but just going into campus, it's just not really an overtaking opportunity. Into Stavolo we go. Again, not really an overtaking opportunity. Lelive just got to be careful, perhaps coming under a bit of pressure, a bit of stress towards the end of this race, and maybe a lack of experience compared to some of his competitors around him starting to creep in, as Bjorklund leading this race, as we will head onto the second to last lap once they cross the line. And Lip will probably, I can imagine him staying behind on this lap, as long as the cars behind aren't close enough to gain a place on him. I can imagine him just sitting back and just waiting for that final lap.
Yeah, that could certainly be a possibility. Of course, it's all about the mind games now, and having that right strategy of what you're going to do heading on to the final lap. And of course, Lip here in a very good position. Of course, Leliva has got a bit of pressure from Barry and Friedrich, so that's where Lip can sit a little bit more comfortably as we head our way through to Eau and Radion once again, and Bjorklund in the lead. We'll see. Does Bjorklund possibly try and lift off a little bit to allow Lip to take the lead, to put him into that best position going on to the final lap as well? Barry looking to make a move ahead of Leliva, who just had a bit of a poor couple of laps, and now Barry up into third and possibly could also get involved in that battle for the lead, as we do see Bjorklund and Lip slowing down heavily into the Lacombe chicane, and Lip takes the lead as we head our way through to the Lacombe chicane, and also Leliva possibly under pressure here from Friedrich.
Yeah, definitely. Is it going to be Lip? Is it going to be Bjorklund? Is it going to be Barry, Lelive, Friedrich? All these top 5 drivers definitely have been the top 5 drivers of today. They have been absolutely spectacular to watch.
Oh,
and that was an error there, rarely from Christoph Lip, or was it? Perhaps a bit of mind games there, as maybe he's like, actually, I don't want to lead the race. I'm going to go wide. Oopsie daisy. As he goes down to 4th place, maybe a bit too much, as Bjorklund now leads the race. Barry trying to go for it. They've got to be careful. Leliva now up into 2nd place. That one mistake from Christoph Lip has completely changed the complexion of these final few laps. And, well, we've only got a few corners to go of this second to last lap, and then it will be one last blast onto the Kemmel Straight we go. And it's honestly a dice roll for who's going to be leading at the end of Lacombe. And of course, even after that, it's still not over, because look at this. Look how close they can all follow going into these final few corners. I just have the feeling an accident is just waiting to happen, as Lelive choosing track position, as Bjorklund trying to fight back as we head into the last few corners for the second to last time onto the main straight we go. It's going to be white flag from Barney on the side. Here we go then. What we've been waiting for the past 45 minutes is finally happening. All of them nearly crashing into one another going into La Source. And Leliva is the one in the lead of the race at the moment. Is that going to be the best choice? Probably not, from what we've seen so far here today. Bjorklund now gaining like a shark from Jaws. Barry and Lip also gaining. This could potentially be 5 wide as we head onto the Kemmel Straight. They're all fighting one another, some on the grass. Friedrich choosing the alternative route. We're going nearly 5 wide, heading into the Lacombe chicane. Bit of contact there from Christoph Lip. It's more contact there, as Lelive somehow ended up keeping the lead of this race as we head into their Lacombe chicane. Now exiting towards Brussels we go. Bjorklund in 2nd place, Barry in 3rd, Lip somehow surviving that onslaught from Friedrich behind. I mean, Friedrich genuinely thought his car turned into a 4-wheel drive there, trying the alternative line on the outside, but just couldn't quite make it work. As we head through Pouhon, it's just starting to settle down now in the middle part of this lap, and then it will be all balls to the wall from about turn 16 all the way until the start-finish straight. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. We've only got a few corners to go in this race. This should be an action-packed finish. This should be a blockbuster, a AAA game from these 5 spectacular drivers. As here we go on the exit of turn 16, Lelive will be absolutely honing on his mirrors. He will not be looking at the track in front of him Is it going to be Bjorklund? I honestly think it could be the front two if they keep it clean. Bjorklund choosing to go for the move into Blanchimont. They need to keep it clean. Lelive hanging it round the outside. Don't forget about James Barry and Christoph Lipp. Into the final corner we go. Lelive just hasn't managed to get it stopped as he wanted, but gets a very good mid-corner. It looks like Lelive has got a good exit. It's going to be Dorian Lelive taking the race victory, an amateur driver for the first time this season, winning a race, and that is in absolutely spectacular fashion. Bjorklund in second place just about misses out on his first victory in the season as well. James Barry finishing ahead of his two championship rivals. That will put a smile on his face. And just utterly wow. We had a fantastic finish here on Friday, and we've been treated to another one again here on Sunday.
What an ending that was. Absolutely brilliant. And of course, brilliant to see the Lelive win here in the AM class and do what none of the others could have done here in the AM categories. We do see a few more cars crossing the line, and what a dismal day for Adam Locke. P19 overall. Of course, that'll be P6 in class. Definitely not what he would have wanted here.
I am absolutely in shock at what I've just witnessed. But here we go. Here's Karakopoulos into the final few corners. And perhaps just giving it a bootful coming out the last corner. And that's exactly what he went ahead and did. And unfortunately lost a few positions towards the end. And in P11 he went. But, wow, I mean, we can get another look at those final few corners. And this is what this series is about. This is what we were hoping for. As Lelive did this to absolute perfection, just about kept it within the track. Round the outside, actually broke early on purpose into this final corner, which was very smart of him to get the outside line, get an amazing run off this last corner. And it paid off in the end. He came away with the victory. And, well, it might not mean anything in terms of championship points, but in terms of pure driver feeling, he must be a very, very happy Frenchman.
Certainly. I mean, we said at the start, maybe he's got the chance to do it, and in the end, he did what probably many others said he wouldn't be able to do, and took the victory ahead of Bjorklund in second place, who, if you remember, started then in P19, I believe.
What a race. What a day of racing. What a weekend of racing. I mean, all the way from Friday till today, it's just been lights to flag action. Action. You can tell my voice is going. Jesus. Oh, that was absolutely amazing. But in the end, it was Dorian Lelive who ended up winning that race overall in the AMS. And the top five separated by 0.7 of a second. And that is what we are talking about here at Spa. Oh, wow. Kimetro Bjorklund in the end in second place for his best finish so far of the season. James Barry, like I mentioned before, definitely will be happy to see himself ahead of his championship rivals heading into the final few rounds of this season. Friedrich, after having a bit of a mixed-bagged day, ending up in fourth. And Lipp, I mean, after leading the race for so long, looking like the quickest man, ended up in fifth, all the way at the back. And yeah, just wrong place, wrong time for Christoph Lipp. And, well, the rest of the grid had no idea what just happened ahead of them. But it's Lasse Sorensen in 6th place, Larsen in 7th, Reitinen in 8th, Skret in 9th. Christian Barkin ended up in 10th place, Karakopoulos with that late mistake in 11th, Iani in 12th, Tom Mueller, 2nd place, by the way, in AM in 13th. Gabriel Berger in 3rd for AMS in 14th, Gonzaga 5th, 15th, Gordon Haug 16th, Mellis in 17th, Damien Gee in 18th, Adam Locke in 19th, and Guy Robertson rounding out your 20-car grid in last place. Well, I'm a little bit speechless, slowly losing my voice after that race. And, well, we've got Kim-Andre Bjorklund waiting for us in the interview area. And, well, Nathan, because I'm losing it, I'll let you handle this one.
Perfect. We'll drag him in quickly. So, Kim-Andre Bjorklund, welcome in. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Perfectly. So, bit of an interesting evening. I mean, qualified didn't go the best, but going into the sprint race, really good start. Got yourselves up some of those positions. Started P6 for the feature race, and well, after all the chaos, you came home with the second place. Explain to us, how did that feature race go for yourself?
Uh, I tried most of the race to just be behind and save fuel as much as I could, and it seemed to work when I came out of the pits, but I had no idea how I would be able to pull that off at the last lap.
Yeah, of course. At one point, you was about 1.8 seconds back, and of course, around a track like this with the slipstream, it can definitely put you in to a bit of an interesting situation. So, how did you deal with that, being a little bit farther back and having to try and push forward and catch back up to that top 5 train?
That was before the pit stop, I think, and then I knew I had saved a lot of fuel before the pit stop, so I was hoping I would get back into the train after the pit stop.
Of
And
course.
but then Friedrich had a little gap to the cars ahead when I passed him, so I would just had to push all I had to get back on the train again.
Of course, and heading into this race, what was your expectation? What was your expectations? Did you expect to be in a fight for the lead to the end?
I had actually no idea. I have practiced a bit, but in the practice session before the qualifying, I saw the pace was there. So qualifying, I just couldn't nail a lap. But yeah,
Of course. Well, qualified didn't go well. The race went very well indeed. So, congratulations on the second place. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
all my teammates and other people who was in the Discord with me and pushing me on the last lap.
Perfect. So, thank you for the interview, Kim, and we'll hopefully see you again sometime shortly.
Yep.
Well, that was Kim Andre Bjorklund, your second place man, nearly first time winner here at Spa. And well, our next driver had maybe honestly the perfect view for what happened that entire race. Welcome back to the interview box, James. I mean, maybe you weren't in too much contention on that last lap, but I mean, just talk us through the heat and feature race, because it must have been just super, super stressful.
Yeah, a bit. It's stressful, yeah, because we're going at such high speeds, every braking zone. You don't know what the guy behind might try and do. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I just think that was probably the best race I've ever been in on iRacing. Those last 2 laps were just incredible, and I bet it was amazing to watch. I don't know what else to say. It was obviously a battle of fuel saving earlier on, and then it all came down to a head at the end. Didn't really get any advantage with the fuel saving, and yeah, it was just a battle for drive to survive. Basically, that's what it was, and amazing job from the top 2.
Well, I mean, I'd say amazing drive from the top 5. You all were absolutely brilliant, all respectful, very, very clean. And yeah, like you said, even though your pit stop was about, on average, about a second and a half quicker than anyone else, yeah, like it didn't really save you that much, purely just because of how powerful the slipstream is here. And just talk us through actually how that feels, because we can watch it as much as we want, but just how powerful does it feel in the car?
It's like a NASCAR race or something like that. I don't drive much ovals on iRacing, but I always come into these races thinking like it's just a tactical battle in those situations. When I came out of the pits, I saw I was going to be in the lead. I was kind of got my hopes up, and then I look behind, see it's Christoph in my mirrors with 3 other cars behind him, and I just think, oh no, I've not got this remotely wrapped up yet. And obviously, obviously would have liked to at least have won in the class, but I beat my 2 rivals in that race. So that made up for the first race that wasn't so good. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand the frustrations. And well, talk about the championship. And well, I think you'll still be leading it heading into the final few rounds. Do you still think that you'll be able to win this overall ahead of Lip and Friedrich?
Yeah, I think I'm going to be the same amount of points ahead of Andreas, about 9 points, and maybe 12 or so points to Christoph. So going to the Nordschleife, it's a track that I like. It's a track that I'm sure Christoph loves, and I'm sure Andreas. Well, I know he's probably just as fast as me or faster than me there. So it's going to be similar, isn't it? I think if you can follow it around the lap at Nordschleife, then you can have the same situations where you have 5 cars in a slipstream battle on the long straight. So let's just go and see what happens. It's going to be crazy there as well, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think at least with the Nordschleife compared to this track, you'll have some chances to pull away at least, but we'll have to wait and see for that race in 2 weeks' time. Well, thank you for coming chat with us, James. And as always, before you let you go, anyone you want to give a mention or shout out to?
Yeah, I said it already, but I'll shout out the top 2 who got amazing results there, both won in their class. So well done to them. They really showed us how it's done today. They took risks and they paid off. So well done to them.
Yeah, it was honestly amazing watch. I would recommend going back and watching it because it's just nuts. But yeah, thank you for coming and having a chat with us, James. Always a pleasure. And good luck in a couple of weeks' time for the Nordschleife.
Yeah, thank you. See you there. It's going to be fun.
That was your third place man and current championship leader, James Barry. Feeling, I think, decent with himself after getting just consistent results today and keeping on to that championship lead. And, well, the Nordschleife, the next round, that should be fun. I mean, today was an onslaught, but the Nordschleife is going to just be, yeah. What are you thinking, Nathan?
I mean, fun's one word, chaotic is another, interesting as well. It's going to be, well, surprising. I mean, if I'm not there, because I'm hopefully for Sam, he'll be back next time. But if not, I'll be certainly watching it on the YouTube stream, because I'm going to be quite interested to see how the drivers tackled that circuit, because it'll be be an odd one.
Oh yeah, odd one is one way to put it. Another one would be hell. The curbs will be nigh on unusable in these radicals, to be honest. You could maybe get away with some of them, but it's going to be a real challenge. And like James and Nathan mentioned, the last lap slipstream on the back straight is going to be something. And do not miss it, as we are back in 2 weeks' time here on the Radical Sim Racing European Championship 2024. But also don't forget, we've got the Americas in just a few hours as well. So make sure you tune in for that race. But so far as this race goes, we're done and dusted here as we head into the night time here in Belgium. It's been an absolute pleasure to commentate over this race for all of you. It's been genuinely one of the best races I've ever seen. It was absolutely amazing all until the end. And, well, I've been Aaron Smith. I've been joined by Nathan Richards and Louise Araya. And it's been a pleasure. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time at the Nordschleife.